So, 5 different places. Just go around this week and just take note of how do I feel in this moment, being very present in that moment. That's all that is. That's all mindfulness is taking note of being present. So, in this moment, I'm being present and I'm thinking about what is in and around where I am. And what does it feel like to just be here? Do I feel anxious? Do I feel calm? Do I feel stressed? Do I feel at peace? And it's just about the environment. So you will notice which environments make you feel a little bit more calmer, look a little bit more at peace, and which kind of makes you feel more stressed. And you may not have even recognized before that those areas make you feel stressed. Then I want you to do something where now you're being more in proximity to other people. So now it's not so much about the place as the people in the place. And I want you to think about what it feels like in these 5 different situations, what it feels like to be around these people, how you are internalizing a feeling. We cannot control other people. We can't control what other people do. We can't control how they respond, what they do to end our career, start our career, advance our career. We don't really have control over those things as much as we like to think we do. We really don't because we can't control another person. We can influence, but generally we can't quite control everything the other person's doing, no more than you can control what's going on in their mind, right? But you can control your reaction and you can control how you are navigating around those other folks, right? So that can put you in more control. So, what is it like to be on a crowded sidewalk or in a crowded restaurant? How about sitting on that park bench with someone that you don't know who might come and sit down next to you, or going and purposely sitting out beside someone that you don't know? Standing in line to make a purchase. How are you feeling if it's a fairly long line versus a short line, a crowded place versus a place that's not very crowded? How about sitting next to your partner, your lover, your friend, your spouse, your children? What's the feeling that you get on the inside when you do that? Getting a hug from someone, getting a hug from someone that you just met versus someone that you don't know, close friend. If you get the pleasure holding a baby, what's that like? What's that experience like for you? How about having someone stop to ask you directions or stop to ask you for something else, right? Purposely putting yourself in that space. You're just kind of sitting, standing there, but you see it's an area that's maybe a touristy area. And you know someone's going to stop eventually and ask you for questions, right? Or being in a crowded store and you know eventually someone's going to stop and ask you, "May I help you?" Or, "Hey, do you know where blah 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 is?" That kind of thing. So that's your homework. And again, we're just taking stock of how you're feeling and how you're responding. Now, I want you to be thinking about the fact that this is a part of a strategy that's going to help you use coping skills. I have a small little pet peeve when I hear people saying, "Hey, I just need coping skills." No, you don't. No, you don't. Just having coping skills is kind of useless. For every therapist that might be watching this on some point, I know you just bristled at that, but you'll agree with me in a moment. Having a strategy in place for how you're going to use that coping skill, that's the money. That's the thing that we want. We want to develop a strategy, and then the coping skill is just a tool in the toolbox. If I just gave you a hammer and nail, and you have no idea what you're supposed to do with the hammer and nail, you're going to be like, huh. But if I tell you that the goal, the plan, the strategy is we're going to decorate the wall and we're going to hang a picture there, right there, then now you're going to be like, oh, I know what to do with the hammer and the nail now. We're going to hang a picture, right? So the strategy is we're going to decorate this wall and we're going to hang this picture. The goal is to hang the picture. The coping skill, the tool in the toolbox is the hammer and the nail. Now you know what to do with it. Makes sense. I just told you to just go take some deep breaths and relax. You're going to be like, huh? What is that? Well, that's a coping skill. That's a part of the overall bigger strategy, which is when you do your homework, if you start noticing, oh gosh, this makes me feel a little uncomfortable. Well, one of the things I want you to do is recognize that in the strategy, deep breathing alone, again, kind of useless, unless you know that your strategy is to practice your deep breathing 3 times a day so that when you need it, you can use the deep breathing as your coping skill for reducing anxiety. Make more sense? Yes, of course it does. So these are just some things I want you to think about when you're developing your strategy till we meet again or until you see your provider again. Come up with a strategy that you're going to be able to utilize some of these coping skills if they work for you. And I will tell you that deep breathing works for every human that has lungs. because you need to take deep breaths periodically to get oxygen into the blood to get to the brain and the other vital organs. Okay. And it can be useful for relaxing. When people tell me deep breathing don't work, I know it's because they're only deep breathing when they're anxious, and they're not practicing it and they haven't come up with a strategy for why the deep breathing is useful. So, one example could be to take a deep breath and then to use that to relax. Embracing your five senses. I'm really big on affirmations as well as the number three, which is being in touch with your thoughts and your feelings. Utilizing those things, I think, can be incredibly helpful. So, there are these wonderful things like I am statements and things like that. But what I want you to think about are using your five senses. I like using five senses for things like grounding exercises. So, you can certainly go and look up on your favorite social media, a grounding exercise with the five senses, and that's a wonderful way to do that. You can use it in your homework as well when you go to the park or one of these other places. And then being in touch with your thoughts and feelings. Again, it's a coping skill that's a part of a bigger strategy for empowering you to be able to take more control of what's going on in your own body. Okay. So again, notice how you're feeling in each of these three places, and that could be helpful. Now, if you're saying, "Oh my gosh, she's talking about this, and I can't do any of that. I'm so beyond that. I attended the master class because I thought it would be helpful, but now this is actually stressing me a little bit because I'm beyond where you are right now. I don't need like just some glossing over some things. I've got some deeper things here." Well, let me ask, if you have been feeling any of these things, eating or sleeping too much, or too little, having low energy, feeling unusually confused, on edge, or scared, problems with focus, or feeling just off, and especially if there's some sadness or dreading of the daily tasks or difficulties doing your daily tasks, right? You're not showering, you're not bathing, you're not brushing your teeth, you're not getting out of bed. You're not really doing any of the things that you know you need to do. That's probably a sign of a bigger problem. And this is where we need some additional help, right? So please don't hesitate to seek some professional help. The first places I'm going to give you, it does not matter where you are. If you are anywhere near or in the United States, whether you're on the mainland or not on the mainland of the United States, 988 is the national talk line. It's basically like 911, but for mental health. But it is a talk line, and you can call anytime for any reason, right? You're struggling, you can call them. You're having thoughts of self-harm, you can call them. You just need someone to talk to, and you want to know about where you can get good help near you, you can call them. If you're not a caller, if you're of the generation that prefers to text, please text home to 741-741. That is a talk text line, right? So it's basically a text line, but eventually, if you got to the place where you did need to actually talk to someone, they can transfer the call or transition the call into a talk call, but you can start by text, okay? Now, when you're reaching out for help, I want you to know, of course, you could always reach us. Thank you for attending this. I do hope this has been helpful for you. But you can send a message to us at support@lovelifelLLC.com if you have more questions about when the next masterclass will be, if there will be additional trainings or classes that we'll be doing, or if you're interested in working with us. If you are in the DMV area, the DC Metro Virginia area, we'd love to hear from you. We are here physically. And we can help folks virtually also in this area, but we're also licensed in several other states across the United States. So you can certainly reach out to us if you have any other questions about this presentation or other things. First, leave us a comment on the platform so that we know exactly what your question is pertaining to, which video it's pertaining to, and we can answer the question right there. But if it's more a question about getting additional help, then certainly you can reach out to us at our support line. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for attending. We really appreciate you educating yourself, okay? Because knowledge really is power. And the more you educate yourself, the more you know. I remember this old G.I. Joe commercial from back in the day, and it would say, "And now you know, and knowing is half the battle," right? Knowing is half the battle. Now you know that there might be a problem, there might be something, an area where you need some additional help. And there are so many people that are willing to reach out and help you. Again, if you are military or former military, I strongly advise you to go to the Star Behavioral Health directory and reach out to a provider who's on that directory that's also in your state. Of course, if you are in the DC Metro Virginia area or any of the places that we're licensed in, we'd love to have you and come and see you because it truly is an honor for us to be able to serve you. Okay. You take care. Have a very blessed day on purpose.